All right, so we got interrupted by a phone call, but all right, so I was able to talk about dogs because I had a dog. I was experienced with dogs, and what I decided to speak about in that little speech was about how dogs bark. And then you guys know that I've done that before, where I've barked and scared you, and I haven't done it in a while. But and anyway, so I was showing them the different barks, the different types of barks. It indicated the different types of dogs. Now I made it funny, and it went well for me. When I was in Bible college, they had me speak about something that I wasn't very familiar with. And so it was very difficult to be able to speak on the topic that they wanted me to speak on. Same thing right now. For any of you, when you're going to write something or you're going to speak about something, obviously if you didn't read the book, if you didn't read it, or when you read it you didn't understand it, you were going to have a hard time doing an oral report on that. One of the things, though, that when you have so much information is that you have to organize it, okay? And that's what I gave you that paper that told you how to organize your worksheet, your preparation, your note cards, in order to remind you of what you wanted to talk about. And I gave you specifics as to what you needed to do. The same thing will happen for you all the time at this level. Some of you may think well, I know a better way. Well, I understand that, but I want you to learn the way I'm teaching you, because it's a good way to learn, and it's not the only way, and I'm not the end-all of all knowledge of how to write. I'm way far from it, in fact. Mrs. Jones is a much better writer than I am, and one of the main reasons, by the way, is because she reads all the time, and I don't read all the time. She enjoys reading all the time, and I'm not one that enjoys reading as much as she does. I do enjoy reading, and I'll try to read some things just to make myself get more information about what I need. So, for you, when you're writing, I'm using 3 basic steps. The first step is to gather information. Now, if you look up here, I took these things out to be able to use, and I'll hold them up here in a second. All right, so when you're writing, I use something called brainstorm. Now, you guys know what a brainstorm is. In fact, it's the first word on this particular chart. All right, it says when you're writing, you choose a topic. Brainstorming is one of the ways to choose that topic. Now, usually, I will help you narrow it by giving you a narrow topic to begin with. Bless you. A narrow topic to begin with, and that narrow topic will limit what you're going to write about. But there will be some where you'll get to choose what it is. I might give you in a certain direction, but it's a very general direction, so you have to be very specific about what you're doing. So you gather ideas from sharing with others. Now, some of the things you write about, you may not be able to share from sharing with others. You may have gotten some information from other people. That's not what we're talking about in some of the things I'm doing, but that's one of the ways to do it. Gathering ideas from books you read or from your experience. So, if I asked you to write a paragraph about your favorite vacation that you've had, which I think we did last year, right? Didn't we do that last year? You know, Kayla's like, yeah, we did. Oh, wait a minute, I wasn't here last year. We're going to do that. But if I asked you to do that, you can write about it because you've been on it. It's your experience, okay? That's something you have to have experience to be able to write about, okay? If your parents left you while they went on your favorite vacation, that's probably not going to be something you can write about. Or your favorite vacation was that your parents left and you got to stay home by yourself for a whole week and eat food from McDonald's and pizza and all that stuff, okay? But look around, and then looking around the room for ideas, depending on what it is. And it's not just looking around the room. One of the things I've had people do in the past is to write about something they saw when they went home, or they see when they go home, or something they're observing. So observation is one of the things, all right? Then the second step is to decide what you want to tell about the topic. So, for instance, if I said, we'll stick with the one about the vacation, I need you paying attention. That means watching me, okay? Not letting your pen bounce off of the desk. Now everybody who's at home gets to see that, okay? Good thing they can't see who you are. Anyway, it says, decide if you want to tell what you want to tell about the topic. So if you're talking about your vacation, you might talk about your favorite activity you did at the vacation. You might talk about the favorite place you went because of what you enjoy about that. Maybe it's camping and you enjoy being in the woods. One of the favorite memories Mrs. Jones and I have was when we were driving across country coming from Virginia to the West Coast. We drove through Yellowstone, and we had gotten up this one high road that was went many miles going uphill, and we got to this high point on this hill about 3,000 or 4,000 feet, and it was in a pine forest. and it was the most incredible smell that we can ever remember. Every time we have a Christmas tree every year, we think of that time when we went to Yellowstone and we got out of the vehicle, out of the truck, and it's just fresh air, and it was all fresh pine needles because there were pine trees everywhere, and it was just an incredible thing to experience, and so we always remember that. So you might want to talk about that specific thing. You might want to talk about, and I said all the activities. You might want to talk about what you and your family did together, the things you did together, not necessarily activities, but what you did in the house, where you went swimming, or you went, or you played games, or you spent time, you got to learn about one another, or you annoyed one another, whatever it might have been. All right, and so you can do that, and it says decide if you want to write a story with a beginning, middle, and end. And so maybe you want to write a story sometime, and your beginning, middle, and end story. We've talked about that a little bit. Decide how you'll organize your information before writing. That's what brainstorming does, okay? All those things are about organizing. So we've talked about brainstorming. We did an example on a board before about brainstorming. And so when I give you the topic that I'm going to have you write about, this is what you're going to do. You're going to write a brainstorm. Your brainstorm is going to be gathering ideas of the things that you know about that particular topic as to what possible things you could talk about. Okay? Now your brainstorm, your writing assignment is going to be about something that you guys are very familiar with. Okay? Your brainstorm is going to be about school. Okay? You guys are very familiar with school. Some of you are more familiar than others with school. 6th graders in particular, because you're older. However, all of you have well enough experience, or enough experience, to be able to to think of many, many topics to be able to brainstorm about. Okay? Now, once you brainstorm on those, I'm going to help you to narrow your topic. But your assignment for that in this book, and you can write it in your. I have 2 places where I put this in reading and language to be able to do. But this is going to be a reading assignment. It's going to be part of your reading assignment, and your first copy is going to be the brainstorm. I'm going to add something on this one. I'm not going to have you do a topic sentence yet, because what I want to do is I want to go over your brainstorms with you at the same time, and I want you to help you develop an idea of how you can organize the things that you're going to be talking about. School has a lot of different possible things about it. What I want you to do is I want you to write down as many ideas as you can about school. And I'm not talking about full sentences. Short phrases or individual words is what you need to talk about. Okay? Yes?
Can you make a bubble organizer thing?
No, I don't want you to make a bubble organizer yet, because what I want you to do is I just want you to list ideas. That's all I want you to do is list ideas. I know some of you know how to do organizer, but I want to go easy steps by baby steps basically right now. Okay, so just list ideas is all I want you to do. Yes, you will do it in the composition book. When you do these in the composition book, the first thing you're going to do is set up the page like you would normally set up a regular page. Do not tear it out. Do not write on the back side of each paper. If you go over to a next page, which you shouldn't for this list, but if you go over to the next page ever on whatever you're writing, what you're going to do is you're going to go over onto the next front page. Don't do it on the back side. Does everybody understand? Okay. The brainstorm part can always be done in pencil, as well as the rough draft. When we do the final draft of what we're doing, all right? So everything except for the final draft can be in pencil. The final draft is going to have to be 2 things, in pen and in cursive. Now, for those of you that don't know how to write cursive, I have something you can use to help you, okay? So ask me for that, and I'll give you a copy of it to be able to show you how to make the letters. No, I am not going to, yes, I am going to grade you on penmanship. However, that's only a small part of the grade. Not only that, I'm going to go from what your level is now and help you to improve your writing a little bit so that people can understand what you write. Now, I'm going to be lenient. We're not doing penmanship this year, but I'm going to be lenient in the sense that I'm not expecting you to write like the Abeka penmanship book has you write. There are some times when I write that I don't write as neatly as I should, and you have a hard time understanding what I wrote. And I say, what are you talking about? It's easy to tell. Of course, I can tell because it's my handwriting. When you write and you can't even decipher what you wrote, there's a serious problem. Okay? And that's what that's what I want you to get to the level. I'm not expecting perfect handwriting at all. I am expecting handwriting though. Handwriting means writing in cursive. All right, Katie.
So do we just list words in a column?
Anything you can think of that might have to do with school, doesn't have to be in a column. It can be in order, you know, comma, 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 however you want to do it, just so you can separate them and you know what they say. That's what I want you to do. Okay? Yeah.
So could I do it like I did with the snacks brainstorm thing?
Okay? Again, as I said, you're listing them. So if you did a bubble or if you did anything else or a column, don't do it that way. I just want you to put all the ideas out there, not separating, not organizing them yet. Okay? So that's why I want you to do that. There's a reason I want you to do that. So we're going by baby steps. This is your assignment. It's an easy assignment, right? Now I expect, since you guys are very familiar with school, I expect a lot of information here that you can choose from. I don't expect you to just write 5, 10, 15 things down. There should be a lot more than that you can write about school. All kinds of stuff that you can write about school. Alright? Be imaginative. Use your brains. That's the thing that God gave you between your ears. There is not an empty space there, even though sometimes you can look through somebody's ear and you can see through the other side. Or if you can look in somebody's ear and somebody can blow on the other side, you can feel a puff of air come through. Okay? That doesn't mean that there's not something in there. There is something there. There's a lot there. God's given you a lot. God has given you the ability to be imaginative. God has given you this for a purpose to glorify Him and to be used of Him. And that's one of the things that we're trying to teach you to do, is to be able to take what abilities God's given you and use them for His glory.
So just like write like ideas about school, not like brainstorm?
It is brainstorming. You're just not organizing. So brainstorming is just writing ideas down. What I usually had you guys do last year was brainstorm and organize pretty much at the same time. But I want to do it small step by small step. Okay? Yeah.
Why can I write on the back side of the book?
Because I don't like you to write on the backside. Got a problem with it? It's my rule. My rule. I have a reason, because sometimes it's hard for me when you're, especially at the beginning of the book, you flip it and it's always flipping back. That's it. That's the reason why. It's very simple. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. I mean, it may seem petty, but it makes it a lot easier for me to be able to read this stuff. Most of the time you won't use 2 pages, so it won't matter. But all the time you're going to start on that front page, and you're going to keep skipping the back side. Okay? Alright. Alright, so I'll put that up there. Yuri, if you can go ahead and turn the camera off, and then I can save those to the